Hey guys, it's Carl. So I'm always on the hunt to reduce my tech footprint, especially for the stuff that I travel with. And by the time you guys are watching this video, I should be in Barcelona for MWC Mobile World Congress. This is the gear that I brought in this tiny little pack. This is my minimal tech travel essentials. And we can start off actually with the pack first. I've kind of showcased it before. It's from DB Journey. It's their like everyday carry pack. This one's actually in collaboration with Marcelo, this famous footballer, if any of you kind of do follow, but they have plain options as well. I think it's great to kind of carry smaller pieces, but it's large enough that you can even fit stuff like an iPad, stuff like a small computer, which you'll see in a second, and it has this nice little handle. The thing that I like about DB Journey, it has these little connector plates on the back, so if you want, if I have like say my carry-on suitcase, which will have all of my clothes, I can kind of clip this onto my suitcase and it becomes one kind of useful carry-on. You can see from the bag, since it's made of this like leather finish, it's easy to clean, but it kind of patinas nicely as you use it more and more. And yeah, it survived a ton of travels already and hopefully will continue to do so. So inside of this, it actually has multiple different compartments. So you've got one in the back. This is where I tend to keep my passport, so it's like closer to my body. So this is kind of option one. I've just got my passport in this just little card holder thing. Obviously that's the most important thing to carry, but I've sadly lost this before and I didn't have an option to track it. Usually I kind of travel with air tags, which is fine for keys, but you can't fit them into slimmer wallets. That's where I've got this little guy. This is the Tile card, and I've just actually bought it. I'm about to set it up myself. It essentially does everything that an AirTag does in a card format, and obviously that's great to slide it into things like wallets, like my little passport holder. So in case this gets misplaced somewhere, I can always track it down. And like I said, that zips into the back of the pack. And then up front, you've got something smaller, which I usually use for my phone. And since it is MWC, I will be rocking the OnePlus 12. This was recently just released. So it was this along with the 12R as well. And if you were wondering, I think OnePlus did a better job with the 12R actually. I think this is the phone that reminds me of what OnePlus used to be. So great price. This is $399 US, $499 Canadian. It's got last year's internals like the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, which is still a great chip. It was like last year's like flagship chip. It's got a 120 hertz screen, which is the same as the OnePlus 12. And I guess the key difference is on the camera. So obviously the 12 uses that collaboration with Hasselblad. We've got slightly lower specs on the 12R, but if you don't care about those things, honestly, save the couple hundred extra dollars. Like this is like $300 more. The 12R is probably my favorite mid-range phone of the year. I think it offers some serious value. And like I said, last year's flagship chip makes this no slouch. I would honestly say the performance is actually very similar. The biggest area where you'll see the biggest kind of like performance difference is within that camera. And once again, unless you've got two phones side by side, I don't think you'll be able to tell too much of a difference, but awesome job by OnePlus. They'll be there as well. So yeah, your phone of choice would kind of go into that top compartment. And on the inside, this is where kind of all the goodies are. And from the top down cam, you can probably get a sneak peek of what's jammed into here, which is quite a bit of tech. We'll take out the first thing, which is the computer for the trip. Since this is mostly like a mobile trip, I'll be capturing most of my content on my phone. I just have this little handheld Asus ROG Ally. So I know this guy has been out for a while now, but I actually just picked it up as a bit of an upgrade for myself, mostly just to catch up on like the occasional game when I'm sitting at an airport where I've got a couple hours to kill. I think this is a great like personal handheld device. Everything that I've played, say like on a laptop, I can pretty much play on this. I've been sadly sucked back into this game called like MapleStory. I used to play like when I was like in high school as like a kid. It's like this 2D MMO mushroom game, which is weirdly addicting. My character from like 15 years ago, I think I'm aging myself, somehow still exists, so I've hopped back onto him. Have been playing the game as fairly similar. There's obviously been a lot of updates over the years, but I've been playing on this. It's been great since it's completely handheld, but other games that I've played like Fall Guys, even some FPS games have been great, and I love the form factor. It's around like 2.5-ish hours when I am gaming, and I still have a full PC, so I can check things like my email, I can browse the net, all in this little guy. So definitely a solid upgrade. This has been something like on my eye for the past little while. I just haven't upgraded to one yet, but I'm happy to be taking it on this trip. Obviously stuff like mobile gaming is big, but nothing beats having actual tactile buttons like joysticks, like actual buttons that I can mash, like actual triggers. It just becomes so much better of a gaming experience. And I've got a couple layovers on this trip, so that will be super handy in the airport. Kind of going on, we've got the rest of like, I guess my gear content creation wise, so I'll kind of pull it out as I go. The next is my Sony. So this is like my big like camera upgrade from the end of last year. I love it because it's the Sony a7CR. It's actually the same sensor that I'm recording on with my like Sony cams 1, 2, and 3 all around me, but it's in such a small form factor that it can fit into a small bag like this. I'm rocking the Zeiss 18mm Batis on this, so I can still vlog, I can still capture content when I'm on the show floor, and I can snap a couple photos with this as well when I need to. It's just a bit better than obviously a phone that I carry around, and it's just nice to have a small little camera with you, since I do still obviously create content for a living. So that is camera off here. If you're still not sold on the A7CR, I know it's pricier. The A7C II, slightly less of a megapixel count, still a great camera. I'm just a sucker for the two-tone finish and a sucker for that high megapixel count. But I will leave both camera recommendations below. Also inside, you've got to rock some headphones. So I actually have 2 here. So these are a pair of Beats, and I've got a pair of AirPods to use, which are in one of the little slide compartments up top with a mesh. These are the new-ish Beats Studios that came out last year. They're good for traveling because they have that ability to fold up, whereas my AirPods, which I think like the AirPod Maxes, those don't fold. So that's nice to just kind of break down, get a bit smaller, and to take calls. Obviously still noise canceling. These are just AirPods Pros. These have kind of been with me for a while as well. I'm still rocking the Lightning ones because I haven't needed to upgrade to the USB-C options. Maybe the only downside of that, you need to carry around that extra Lightning cable, but you kind of pick your poison. I think if you already own the Gen 1s, you don't really need to upgrade to the Gen 2s. Speaking of charging, I've once again kind of compacted everything into just one kind of power brick, one charging brick. So this is the Nomad 130 watt charger. It's obviously great because it has the juice to charge something like my ROG Ally, like my camera, like my smartphone, like my headphones, as it has 3 different ports. So if you do have something Lightning, obviously you can carry around that 3rd cable, but I just have the 2 USB-C cables, one long enough that I think this is like an old MacBook cable. When I have this plugged in into my bed beside in a hotel, I can still play on my ROG Ally if it does need to juice up, and I don't need to worry about having a smaller or shorter cable, I should say. So that kind of rolls up into this one little thing. I'll just kind of wrap this up. And obviously, since I am going to Europe, I just need an adapter. I sniped this actually from the Air Canada lounge in Frankfurt a couple years ago. So thank you, Air Canada, for that. And last but not least, within the rest of the mesh, I just have a couple extra accessories. So just extra storage stuff. So I've just got a couple of spare SD cards, as well as this Lexar SSD. It's their new one. This is the SL600. So this is great to, obviously, if I'm capturing content, I can kind of put everything from my camera, even say from my smartphone, from my OnePlus, I can plug it right into this and store all of that content as a bit of a backup as I am going without a laptop. So I know it's minimal. Everything surprisingly fits into this one pack. Hopefully you guys found some useful tips. If there's anything that I'm missing, make sure to list that down below. Obviously the most important thing when you travel, your passport, obviously, just don't forget that. And I am happy that I now have this little tile card tracker to kind of manage all of my stuff and hopefully not lose track of this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a bit more minimal. I featured less tech, but I guess that's the point of it. So I will leave everything listed in the description. I've got a ton of content for MWC coming up, so make sure you're subbed. New devices, which I can't share yet, which I'll pick up in Barcelona, and I'll catch the rest of you in one of my next vids. Peace.